Hi everyone, this is Ryan with rockthedivine.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to my latest video. In today's video, I'm going to answer questions from viewers. I want to thank everyone that takes the time to like my videos, to subscribe, and to ask questions. I really enjoy answering them, and I like that it benefits all the viewers watching. So thank you very much for participating. Okay, I wrote these down. I just got a few. The first question I got asked was, do you have to meditate beforehand every time you want to receive messages from Spirit? The answer is no, you don't have to meditate every time. The reason meditation is important, especially early on, is the goal of meditation, besides making you feel better, is to teach you to become very present very quickly, to become one with your self, your I am presence, your higher self, and to put you in a receptive state quite quickly. Meditation helps get rid of that chatter of your mind. If you think about it, you're always sort of talking in your head or thinking or ahead of yourself or in the past. Meditation brings you right here and now. It's only in the here and now that you can receive divine guidance and tap into your intuitive abilities. So that's why early on I have my students make sure that they are meditating at least for short bouts every day. Hold on, the sun's being weird. Because they need to learn how to quickly get in that receptive state. So yes, a lot of times I will have them meditate before they connect. But once you get really good at getting into that meditative state quite quickly, you don't actually need to do it. Now, I do have some intuitives that I know that before they meet with a client, they always meditate. And sometimes I do too, depending on how my day's going. Like sometimes I feel not very grounded and a little scattered, so I might spend 5-10 minutes meditating. Other times I don't need to. I just base it off how my energy is feeling. What I'll say is that early on, do spend, even if it's just 5 minutes meditating, because that will just make you be able to get guidance more strongly and more quickly. But once you get really good at it, you might find you never need to do it because you're just used to getting in that state with a few deep breaths in and out. Okay, the next question. A lot of times a deceased loved one's name will pop into my head and it feels like they're around. So that's super common, and that happens to me all the time. For no particular reason, you'll suddenly think of a deceased loved one, or you will just in your head hear their name. Are they around? Absolutely. That in that moment is them reaching out and saying hi. There's nothing really you need to do. You can just say hi or talk to them in your mind, because they'll hear you, they'll hear your thoughts. But that is, definitely when those things are combined, you're hearing their name for no reason or thinking of them out of the blue, they are around, absolutely. Okay. Do you ever hear music, but you can't account where it originates from? And this person said that they were hearing soothing symphony type music. So totally, if you are hearing a soothing symphony type music or really beautiful music, you are actually hearing the angelic realm, which is very cool. Not everyone, sorry, they're giving me a chill. When I get chills when I say something really right, they give me sort of confirmation chills. When you hear something like that music and there's no reason you'd be hearing it, it doesn't seem to be coming from anywhere, you are definitely tapping into another dimension, a higher dimension. And that type of symphony music is connected with angels. So that's what you're hearing. Now, for some people, there's times they hear music, like let's say you're sort of maybe in a creepy old place or what have you, and you hear music that's coming from nowhere, and maybe it sounds like music from the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, what have you. A lot of times what's going on in that sense is that you're hearing sort of like an imprint, like a psychic imprint is what I would call it. it doesn't mean there's necessarily a haunting, but sometimes the energy from a certain time period or certain era or a certain day even gets imprinted, and you can see or hear something that happened a long time ago, and it's sort of like a record. It's just playing on a loop. Hauntings are this way too. The sun is really not doing me any favors today. That's what you get for natural lighting. Anyway, with hauntings, sometimes you're not actually being haunted by a spirit. You're just watching an activity that happened a long time ago, and it imprinted itself in the area you're in. So some people will see like spirits that walk down the hall, and that's all that ever happens. They're just seeing a spirit walk down the hall. Well, that doesn't mean the spirit's actually there. It's just sort of something that happened a long time ago that for one reason or another is playing on a loop, So that can happen too when you're hearing music. But the type of music you're hearing, you're definitely hearing the angelic realm, which is awesome. Okay. This person said, I'm seeing grid lines and have no idea why. Well, let me tell you what. When I first started having unusual things happen because my abilities were trying to sort of come to the surface and open up, I was seeing grid lines too. And I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I needed glasses, but grid lines are very obvious when you're seeing them because you don't just see lines or rows of lines in the middle of the air for no reason. So I know exactly what you're talking about. This is a very common occurrence when your clairvoyance is trying to open up. So know that you are clairvoyant to some degree, and your clairvoyance is trying to open and work out the kinks is what's going on. Now, the reason you're seeing grid lines is because, and bear with me here, I am not a scientific person and I'm not going to know the exact vocabulary. I'm going to keep it real easy and in super duper layman terms. When you break down the universe, when you break down energy, and if you could look at it under a microscope, everything is these grid lines. Everything is sacred geometry, psychic math, for lack of a better word. And if you were looking at stuff very deeply, this is what you would see is everything is made of these energetic grids, everything in the universe. So that is what you're seeing. You're seeing what things are actually made of, which is energy grids, lines, and what have you. So that's very cool. And check out sacred geometry, Google the grids, and you'll see all kinds of stuff that comes up because there's some people, and I'm not very educated on this, but they're called grid keepers, and that actually is a gift. It's a psychic ability where you are meant to help manipulate or benefit the energy around you of these grids. You can actually remove negative energy and help certain areas like mountains and the woods and what have you. You actually can tap into this energy and see if energy needs to shift or come in and out to benefit the area around you. But like I said, I don't know a whole lot about that. I've read a little bit, but definitely Google it. There's some really cool information about it. Maybe you're a grid keeper, you never know. Okay, the next question. This person said they've opened their upper chakras, but they struggle with their lower ones. That's very common. So your upper chakras, they they connect you to the higher realms, to your psychic abilities. And what happens is when you're always I'm trying to think how I'm going to explain this. I'll use me as an example. When I am receiving intuitive guidance, and that is in my upper chakras, to some extent, even though I make sure I'm grounded, you sort of are floating up, like your spirit sort of floating up your spirit channel a little bit. You're just a little bit out of your body, high up, receiving this information. And that's the reason we really want to make sure that you're grounded when you're doing psychic work, and that you ground afterwards, because you need to bring yourself back down into your body. When you're always up in these higher chakras, it's very easy to become ungrounded. And my recommendation is you do need to take extra steps to ground yourself often. Ground yourself many times a day. A lot of times I ground myself at the minimum twice, at the very minimum, but sometimes up to 10 times a day. I really pay attention to how I'm feeling, and it depends on the psychic work I've done that day of how many times I do it. But that's what I would say. It just sort of comes with the territory when you're intuitive, when you have abilities like that, or even for people who meditate a lot. Even though it's really great, it brings you into your body, it can also sort of take you out of your body depending on the meditation you're doing. So eat good foods, take care of your body, make sure to really become one with yourself. Like, don't always be in your head, be in your body, and just take extra steps to ground. Okay. All right, the last question. Someone said sometimes actually I had a few people that said versions of this. People either waking up from a nap or waking up in the morning, sometimes they hear someone talking to them or someone yelling, someone saying a loud noise in their ear. And what I'll say is that there's sort of, you're in a receptive state during that time, and you're sort of starting to wake up and come to. And in that receptive state, you can hear into the other dimensions. Some are low, some are high. And a lot of times, the lower dimensional beings like to scare you, make you uncomfortable. They're kind of hanging around you because when you were sleeping, you were out of your body, sort of walking around and doing things, and they tend to follow you around, sort of follow you back to wherever you're sleeping, in hopes that they can jump in your energy with you when your spirit comes back down into your body. And I know that sounds real trippy, and I could get into a whole thing about that, but I won't. What happens is these beings are hovering around you when you're starting to wake up, and a lot of times they'll go, "Hey," or they'll say something outrageous in your ear or something weird. There's really nothing you need to do, and there's nothing you need to worry about. As long as this is not happening like every single time you're waking up, then you might need to do a clearing on yourself or on your house. But just the random stuff, a lot of times it's what I call psychic noise, psychic chatter, and it doesn't really mean anything. There's nothing you have to worry about with it. And a lot of times they'll have deep voices, evil sounding voices, because they like to be scary. They try to sound unnerving. You can also hear very, very high pitched noises, which can also sound unnerving. Again, don't worry about any of these. Just know you're in that receptive state and you're picking up on this psychic static, basically. It doesn't mean anything. You don't have to worry about it. It's just the strange things that happen, and there's lots of beings, lots of different energies in all these different dimensions, and in your receptive state, you're able to hear it. And sometimes it can be far off. It could have nothing to do with you. It's just you're hearing something within the dimension because of the receptive state you're in, and it has nothing to do with you. No one's trying to communicate necessarily. So don't even worry about it. Well, I hope that answered all your questions. I look forward to the next batch. Much love, babes.